hockey. Yeah.
My favorite.
It's Judd's Hockey Show.
It's Judd's Hockey Show, talking about the wagon that is the Minnesota Wild, a team that just simply can't lose, and when they do lose, they still get points, and they've been absolutely fantastic. It's Judd, it's AJ. We're going to talk about a lot of good things and a few bad things to come from the Wild's latest victory last night, 3-0, Filip Gustavsson shutout of the Montreal Canadiens. But before we start, I do want to tell you about my good friends at Park Tavern, the official sports bar of the Sports Dad, St. Louis Park, located at the corner of Louisiana Avenue South and Highway 7. I'm just checking out their website right here, parktavern.net. Late night happy hour. Enjoy happy hour specials, 8 to close every single night. How about that? Also, if you have an event, it could be an anniversary, a family event, it could be a work event. Park Tavern can absolutely positively host that. And I'm not talking about like 15 people. I'm not talking 20. I'm talking a big event. They've got the space. They've got the know-how. Cheryl does a fantastic job there coordinating all events. So again, check them out, parktavern.net, and you will find out why, with delicious food and a delicious array, a choice of beers, and also a great space that includes bowling, why Park Tavern is the official sports bar of the Sports Dad. Parktavern.net, always a good time, as it was for our event line that we did last Sunday in the back bar there at Park Tavern. All right, there's a lot to like about what we saw last night, and I want to get to it, Age, but I feel like I would be burying the lead if we didn't talk about who the Wild lost yesterday and last night. All right, so going into the game, Jonas Brodin was out, upper body. Now, this is hockey, so we don't know if it's a shoulder. We don't know what it is exactly. But anyway, he was out. Now, that's a loss, because then your top four defensemen were Spurgeon was paired with Chisholm, and Faber was paired with Jake Middleton. So that's juggled. It worked out fine. They got
that's hockey. You're going to have that type of stuff throughout the season.
But then within the first period, you lost two more key top six forwards. Mats Zuccarello, who has been subsequently this morning or today placed on IR. I think if you saw that, I think we all can sort of diagnose that it hit him in a very sensitive spot, but whatever it is, it's not good. So he's going to miss time. And then shortly after that, Eriksson Ek looked like he strained something. It was a very innocuous looking play, but he then went up the tunnel to the dressing room, and shortly after that, it was announced he would not return. Sounds like we are going to get an update at some point soon. We do not have that yet. But all of that being said, the Wild still won. They rotated 10 forwards. John Hines, for a second consecutive game, was the line magician, basically juggling lines. He did that in Chicago because to give his team a spark. He did it on Thursday because he had to. But nonetheless, Eriksson Ek and Zuccarello being out for any amount of time, and Brodin as well, wouldn't be surprising. Every team has injuries less than ideal. Does that sound fair, Age?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I think the question was how long, and we've talked about the health of this team. Like, up until this point, it's been relatively solid. A couple guys have missed a game here or there, but nothing to the extent of needing to go on IR. I think the biggest one that we were maybe keeping an eye on up to this point was Jared Spurgeon, with his history last year, coming back from that, kind of what would be. But Mats Zuccarello, he catches that wrist shot below the belt last night, and I mean, the fact that we didn't really get much of a update after the game, and then straight to, hey, he's going on the IR. That's not very. That's not just. It's just not good news. I mean, that's a top line winger. That's that chemistry with Kaprizov. Not that he can't play with anybody else. We've seen him able to do that, but that takes away kind of that offense and that. I mean, what that top line offers. Now the question is, what's going to happen? Does Matt Boldy get pushed up to that line? Do we see a Liam Ogren maybe recalled from Iowa, and then how does he factor in? Because he was playing those fourth line minutes. And then I want to say when it was Johansson who missed some time, he did get up to that second line, but his showing necessarily wasn't the best. So does he get that slot back right away? We'll have to see what John Hines wants to do. I think you're probably going to see him in that top six at some point here in the next couple of games. I think they probably throw him right in the mix right away, Judd. I don't know what you think.
I think there's a good chance of that, and part of that's trust as well, and like that's what we don't know. Now here's the issue to me. If Eriksson Ek is out, and we don't know that yet, but again, we're recording this just for transparency's sake at 12:30 on Friday. According to Michael Russo of The Athletic, we're going to get an update pretty soon. If he's out for any amount of time, what are the lines then? And one of the more interesting lines we saw last night as far as firepower was Boldy at center. And now the last 2 games, he's played some there. Boldy at center with Johansson and Kaprizov. But then what's your second line if Ek is out, because he's your second line center? Like there's, I guess it's Rossi and then Ogren and whom. So, or they could continue, quite frankly, they could continue to juggle lines. Like it's been done. Like you do not have to be, I mean, Jacques Lemaire was the poster child. You do not have to be wedded to 4 lines. Like your fourth line can probably stick, right? But you can juggle guys around. Like there's no hard and fast rule. I think with Dean, we just got used to that because that's a bit of the old school thing of these are my lines. But like you could have Boldy, Johansson, and Kaprizov together at times. You could have Rossi, Boldy, and Kaprizov at times. So like, and Hines clearly is showing he's comfortable. Like they juggled 10 guys last night. Like it was no big deal. I don't think they took a 2 many men on the ice penalty. I didn't see any like mass confusion. So that's certainly a potential thing of to have certain combinations play in certain situations. But yeah, losing, if you've lost all of those 3 or even 2 of those 3 for any amount of time, and Ek, I mean, he's just invaluable. The way that he plays the game, he's probably, like if I had to rank how I wouldn't want to lose these 3, Ek is my 1. Brodin is probably my 2. Zuccarello is my 3. Now he's played well, but I feel like, as much chemistry as he and Kirill have, I feel like to what you just said, Kirill can play with guys. He's proving that. I mean, he and Boldy can be great. But if Ek is out, that puts a big damper to me on like, what do you do then?
And I think the first thing that we're going to see is a spotlight kind of, and granted, we've seen him in this role before, but I think we're going to see the reemergence of Ryan Hartman being in that top 2 line conversation. He had an impressive showing last night. He did in those guys' absences later in the game, stepped up and picked up some big minutes. He followed up like Boldy and Kirill for forwards with ice time with just over 18 minutes of ice time. So he was the 3rd highest forward with ice time last night. We know he has that defensive capability. He's kind of got that grinder mindset and skill set, but he's been a top line center for this team before under the Dean Evison regime. I think he probably does go up, whether that's in the middle or out wide, I think is to be talked about later on. But
you're right.
I'm expecting probably Ryan Hartman to get the nod because that tells me that John Hines trusts him to step up in the lack of offense that you're going to miss with Mats Zuccarello and maybe that 2-way aspect that you get out of Joel Eriksson Ek.
So to start the next game, let's assume that along with Mats that Eriksson Ek is out. So to start the next game, what are your lines?
My top line,
and let's just assume the 4th line is not touched.
Yeah. So 4th line immediately is Lauko, Husnudinov, Trenin. I think that's
correct.
Fine.
And by the way, Trenin, welcome to the season, dude. You are a 4th line player. I think you might be paid too much, but you're a 4th line guy. Nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong with that. Hey,
he can. It's the only line he can keep up with.
You know what?
And Husnudinov can skate. That's not a shot at him.
No. Oh no, absolutely not. Anyway. Here's what I would say for the top line. You're going to have Kirill.
Okay.
I'm going to say you're going to want to jump on teams quick. You're going to want to, especially tomorrow against the Stars, you're going to want to bring them a little firepower early, even if it is one action-packed line.
Okay,
Matt Boldy is your top line center. Boldy's your top line center.
Incredible. Okay, Kirill on the right, Johansson on the left?
Yeah, I think that's probably what it's going to have to be. Do you think?
Is that what you're going with?
That's what
that's the line. That line had chemistry. That first goal last night, the Kaprizov pass, sort of the turn and pass, Johansson in front to Boldy. I mean,
that was good hands by Johansson to make that
as
play
Boldy
possible.
said, I didn't have to do any work on that play.
No, he made the cut at the right time, and that's about it. And in 5 minutes and 15 seconds of ice time last night, that line generated .352 on ice expected goals for. So that's my top line. Johansson on the left, Kaprizov on the right, Boldy in the middle.
Okay.
Here's
so
what Here's what I'm thinking for line number 2.
Okay.
They've played together before, so I'm going to go Marco Rossi is your second line center. I think Ryan Hartman on the right.
Yep.
Marcus Foligno on the left.
Okay.
I know I just was talking about it, but now that I'm thinking about it a few minutes later, I think Ogren does come back up, but I think he's top 9, not top 6.
So third line you think is Gaudreau,
Ogren, and who am I missing here? Am I missing somebody? Have I glossed over somebody already?
You must be missing somebody.
Or,
let's see, Kaprizov, Johansson, Gaudreau, Hartman.
We've already done.
Oh, Zuccarello's out. No, you're gonna have to move Rossi, Foligno, Ek. I'm going through last night's roster actives. Boldy. So you're gonna have to come up with a right wing. Do you move somebody up from the fourth line, or who's the guy they just called up who watched the game last night from the press box from Iowa?
Was that wasn't Graham Clark, was it?
No, it's the guy. What the hell's his name? I'm blanking now. Getting old.
I can picture his face. I just can't actually picture his name.
I got it. I'll find it right here.
Okay, perfect. But yeah, and then
bear with us.
Go ahead.
Yep.
Yeah, your defensive pairings I think are going to be pretty important now, just because the thing is we've seen Jacob Middleton look pretty solid with Brock Faber. And I'll say this. Michael Milne, thank you.
So Milne would probably, I'm probably wrong. They might put Trennan up. They might put Trennan or Lauko up on the third line and put Milne on the fourth line.
I think Lauko goes up. For sure, and Milne probably fits in. I do too. You
might be extending him a little past his comfort zone, but I'd rather do that. I mean, we've seen Trennan on the third line, and I don't need to see that much more.
Exactly. I'd rather deal with the devil I don't know than the one I do with Trennan there.
Although, H, can I play devil's advocate for 1 second?
Bring it on, yeah.
Wouldn't Ogren fit stylistically more on the second line and bump Foligno or Hartman down to the third line? Like, because you're going to have a responsible winger with either Hartman or Foligno. I mean, Ogren's style...
And that third line's been solid, so maybe you don't break that up.
So you might have but I mean you're gonna have to bump one of them up. So what if you did Foligno, or I'm sorry, what if you did Rossi, Hartman, Ogren, and then on the third line you did Gaudreau, Lauko, Foligno?
Who's playing on the right there?
I think Foligno can play on the right. I think he's done it before.
I think he should be able to, yeah. And then Milne slots in on the left side.
Oh, the fourth.
On the fourth. Yeah. I like.
But I mean, the Boldy line becomes super intriguing. Now you're going to probably, again, depending on the situations, face-offs, blah, 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 juggle those lines a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sort of with you. I mean, I think in a snapshot, and you just sort of backed me up with the stat, the Boldy, Kaprizov, Johansson line looked like it had some real chemistry. And we know that Matt and Kirill do.
Yeah.
And what you said before, unless you put a really bad player with Kirill, the chemistry is going to exist.
Yeah, I feel like you have to do that. And granted, to your point, I think we're not going to see that line like a stone cold set in the writing line for the entirety of a game. John Hines has shown that in every game he's willing to juggle at a moment's notice if needed. And I think as soon as he maybe sniffs out a little, okay, we're getting stagnant here. They're shutting us down. Maybe we need to spread the wealth a little bit. All of a sudden, Marco Rossi maybe goes up to the top line.
Or face-offs.
And that too,
Draws become an issue. Like, you're probably not going to want Boldy. Now, he's been trusted to take draws. But, if it's late game, you're probably going to want a guy. I mean, Hartman might bump up back to center. Like you could see some of that.
It was late in the game last night where we saw Hartman go in for the initial draw and just jump it, like trying to cheat, and then he got tossed out, and Rossi comes in to salvage the defensive zone draw. And that's what they might have to do is just get a little cheeky with it, and it's the gamesmanship about. I'm fine with my winger getting tossed, and then I'd be a little more conservative with my second attempt.
Right. Exactly right. Exactly right. Okay, let's talk about another good thing. Just it continues to be so solid, and that is Gustafsson in goal. Now,
Mhm.
the Canadians had 19 shots, so he wasn't exactly overworked. But I felt he made a lot of big saves. And I felt that he like I don't know what the official high danger chances were, but I felt like Gustafsson made a lot of really nice saves. And to go back to what we've talked about the last couple of weeks with our friend Jesse Pierce, he is so squared up to the puck. Like he is so under control. As John Hines said, and he's right, he said when Gus starts to play well, he also doesn't give up a lot of juicy rebounds. I just thought the performance for a 19 save, oh, okay, the Canadians aren't good, shutout, was a really nice game from the goaltender.
Yeah, and here you brought up like high danger chances. I'm using moneypuck.com here, who I find very reliable, but the the Canadians appear to have generated 29 low danger shot attempts. Keep in mind this is attempts, not actual shots on goal.
Right. Yep.
3 medium danger shot attempts, 0 high danger shot attempts. So the Wild defensively in front of Gus played very solid last night. That being said, he did save 1.11 goals saved above expected. So that means he did, over the course of the game, like he shouldn't statistically maybe gotten a shutout. He overperformed.
Okay.
He did well. So that's not to say that he didn't make stops when needed. He didn't, save his own bacon at certain times. Looking at like the heat map of where these shots came in, a lot of the times you see those high danger ones right on top of the crease because there's a breakdown or something. The Canadians they don't do that. Like it's maybe
they don't really care about hockey right now, but that's part of the problem. But I felt Gus played well. But yeah, Montreal, I don't know what your takeaway from watching the game on TV was, but from the press box, I mean, it looked like a team that was already pretty checked out.
Oh,
like
yeah.
The Canadians didn't want whistles for most of the game. It was just, but you know what? Just like the Sharks game, AJ, just like the Ducks game, these are games the Wild has lost. Like I really think if you go back to this time last year and you have Brodin out and then you have Eriksson Ek and Zuccarello go out, I think they lose. I think Gustafsson does not play particularly well. Lets in a couple of softies. The Wild hangs its head. Post-game, we hear all of the excuses of how we have to do more. But I really think that this was a game that they lose. Like, they have found ways to lose this game. That's why I'm not taking this for granted. Because we can say, yeah, I mean, the Sharks are terrible. The Ducks are terrible. The Canadians are terrible. You should have got 2 against the Blackhawks. But the reality is, when you go back a year and Dean was fired with the team having lost 7 consecutive games in late November, so almost a year ago, this team was finding ways to lose these games.
Yeah, and I mean, they didn't really generate too much offense in that first period and a half or so, and you could tell you lose Zuccarello, you lose Eriksson Ek. That's going to take a big toll, but the thing is they found a way to eventually find the back of the net. Granted, it took a really pretty play by your superstar to put, the puck on the tape of Johansson, who all he had to do was pretty much just like breathe on to get an assist for Matt Boldy's goal. But sometimes that's all you need. They did enough. They, to your point, lose that game in previous seasons, I think, because of the adversity. And the mindset of this team is we're going to keep fighting. Next man up. Everybody's rowing the boat, not, whatever. I think that is going to be a real key and something to watch here tomorrow against Dallas. Dallas is no schlub. This is a team that is going to push you around. Whereas last night you saw it with Marcus Foligno late in the game. Lane Hudson, I think they were on the power play. He's kind of like dipsy doodling at the top of the zone, trying, and that's his game. He's an offensive defenseman. But Foligno says, you know what? Enough of this. Kind of just pushes him down, knocks the puck out of the zone. That is something, yes, but that's something that the Wild in past years really, I feel like, hasn't had. They've refound that physicality of, you know what? We're not going to do this. I'm going to just knock you down, kick it out of the zone, and, we're going to try to go the other way. Dallas, however, they have that physicality. They're built top to bottom like a really solid team. They are a team that's been making deep playoff runs now for the past handful of years. If you can put up a decent fight, I think that, even shorthanded, that makes me think that this team is the real deal. This team can battle through, but it's going to take a pretty solid effort from some of those guys who typically find themselves in that bottom 6 forward group to step up and really show that, hey, we can carry the load while a guy like Mats Zuccarello is on IR, while Eriksson Ek is out, and we're maybe lacking that two-way playing ability. So we'll have to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just for context of what you're talking about from last season, AJ, the Wild last year, I'm looking at a story from April 9th of 2024. It says the problem for the Wild at that time is that they haven't been able to beat the top teams in the Central. The Avs at the time, the Stars and Jets, they are combined 0-9-1 against those 3 top Central teams. So they had 1 point at that point out of a possible 20. So this is a really good test. Like this again is like it's a series of what? It's a series of tests. It's a series of benchmarks. So yeah, this is it's weird. So the Jets finally lost. So the Jets have 30 points, which is unbelievable.
Not to interrupt you, but we do have breaking more injury news from Michael Russo of The Athletic.
Oh, nice.
Zuccarello on IR, expected 3 to 4 weeks recovery time. Good. Eriksson Ek is day-to-day. Jonas Brodin remains day-to-day as well. And both Eriksson Ek and Brodin are not ruled out for tomorrow, but they will call forward to be named to kind of fill out the depth chart of things just in case.
Okay, so hopefully at least the last 2, Eriksson Ek and Brodin, can get back in. Zuccarello, I have a feeling I know what took place there, and I don't want to think about it. No. Well, that's potentially good news. Like, teams always say this too, so I guess I'll believe it when I see it. But Eriksson Ek is a tough kid, tough guy. So I do trust that he will get back. Then that it won't be extended. At least he's not like in a cast or something like that, which is what I was concerned about. I couldn't tell, but I think in retrospect, probably some type of strain. So to go back to my point though, so they were so bad against the top of the Central, that cost them their playoff spot. Like they would have been in the playoffs if they had been halfway representable against the Jets, against the Avs, and against the Stars. So I'm with you. Now, the Jets did lose to the Lightning last night, but they still have 30 bleeping points. The Wild has 25. I think the only other team in the league with more points than the Wild right now are the Devils with 26 points. Dallas trails, obviously, the Wild, but yes, Dallas is good. Dallas is going to be a test. So it'll be interesting to see. I would guess that we will see Gus again. I would guess we're going to see, unless it's back-to-back games, a steady diet of Gus now because he's played well enough to. He deserves the starts. But I think Dallas is going to provide you at least with a little bit of a gauge. But every test so far, for the most part, this team has passed. And I love the fact that they were so meek a year ago, right? They were just so weak and excuse laden. It feels like this team has a real idea of its identity. And Hines had a very interesting post-game quote last night. He talked about, and I'm checking out Sarah's story here in the Star Tribune. He said, we never get out of the structure. We never get loose. We had some puck decisions in the second period that needed to be better, but even when we went out in the third, it was, we got to play the game that we're in. This is what's required to win this game. And I thought the guys did a very good job of responding to that. And I think that's bang on. I think that's spot on. This team knows what it needs to accomplish. It's not making excuses. Your Foligno shorthanded thing is perfect. Like, that's a play where he just basically said, I'm going to overpower you. He did. And that, to me, is how a team that largely has the same personnel as a year ago looks so different this November.
In bringing up the penalty kill, I think I figured out a small tweak that I've noticed here the past couple of games that I don't think they were doing before.
Nice.
So the puck here at the top of the zone, they have, with the box, it's a very condensed box. The puck carrier now is going to be tracked by the closest forward. So when that pass goes across, they essentially like swap positions rather than the cylinder up and back. That has made, with that active stick, it forces them to the outside. So you're keeping the puck in those low danger chances so that it gets to the corner. I mean, then it's pretty easy to contain. That small tweak has made a major difference on the penalty kill. So I don't know who.
So you're saying they didn't switch previously?
No, from what I noticed,
the
they were
forwards played up.
If you're on the right side, you would go attack that right defender, but as soon as that puck gets shifted across, you're going to sink back down. That's just creating so much space because
100%.
now if you're just switching over. Yeah,
look at you with your observations on the
games a little
PK
bit.
though. Who would have thought you were a PK guy?
You never know. So yeah, that it's a small tweak, but apparently it's working pretty well, and I've noticed that it's helping out quite a bit.
It goes back to what we said, which is if you put pressure on the puck itself and the carrier, they feel that. And when you when you basically go into what amounts to a zone, it makes their life really, really simple.
Yeah, and it's clear they want to keep it super packed in front of the net, and that allows it to, because then that the off winger just has to essentially sink back down, pivot over, and all of a sudden you're still in that formation. So it's working out.
AJ, great stuff. Again, so Zuccarello IR out for 4 weeks.
3 to 4 is what Michael Russo is reporting, but day-to-day for both Brodin and Eriksson Ek, neither of which are ruled out for tomorrow's home game against the Stars.
Awesome stuff, man. AJ, Judd, we will see you soon on Judd's Hockey Show.